Started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so glad to have you all here. And thank you to Greg for being willing to present to our members. We know that surveys are happening. We know that there's a lot that goes into them, and we just want to make sure that you're as prepared as possible. So we brought in the big guy to come in and help get you ready and give you everything you need to know. So thank you, Greg, for being here. And again, everyone, I apologize for the delay, but glad you could be here, and thanks for hanging in. And with that, I'll turn it over to Greg.
Thank you, and I'm getting bigger all the time, so thanks for that. So I appreciate everybody and the delays on my part. Technology and me sometimes battle. I would like maybe if you just, I'd like to know how many have not been through a survey, or at least not a survey in Utah. Maybe if you could just throw in a thumbs up or in chat or a reaction or something. Just to kind of get a sense of, I see some familiar names and I see.
So are you asking if they have not been through a survey?
If you've not been through survey in Utah.
Okay, so if you've not been through survey in Utah, put something in the chat box. Well, I'm not seeing anything.
So everybody's had a survey. All right. Well, heck, why are we doing this presentation? All right. So let me. So Garfield, Kelsey. All right. Cade, not as an administrator. All right. All right. Let me share my screen here. Okay, you seeing that?
Yes.
All right. So this is really going to be fairly basic. Here's my contact information. I will say that the state is required that I have a state issued cell phone. This one's my personal. I just haven't decided whether or not I want to really carry around the other one. I have it. So eventually I'll probably send out an email of a different number you can call. But for right now, go ahead and give me a call on this number. I think everybody has that one. But feel free to call me on the 385-626-2171. I almost always have that. So, but my contacts, when I got the new number, didn't transfer over. So I don't always see who it is. If it's a provider and it's someone I know, I've always answered it, but now that I don't know, I do a little more phone screening. So leave a message if I don't answer. All right, and there's my email. Okay, sometimes you'll hear us referred to as the State Survey Agency, sometimes the Office of Licensing. So just a little background on that. From a state perspective, we are the Office of Licensing. We operate within the Department of Health and Human Services in the Division of Licensing and licensing and background checks. But the work that my staff does, we do that based on an agreement with CMS. It's actually the 1864 agreement goes back to the Social Security Act. The Secretary of Health and Human Services has an agreement with each governor to designate an agency to do certification activities, and our office is the one that does that. So for certification work, we're the state survey agency. For licensing activity, we're the Office of Licensing. Just so sometimes people will hear us referred to one or the other, but we're this one and the same. So Simone Boulevard is the director of Office of Licensing. Kelly Criddle, I think a good portion of you know Kelly. He was a surveyor many years ago for long-term care. For certification purposes, he is the state survey agency director. So when CMS contacts us for certification work, they contact Kelly. Simone, though, oversees the whole Office of Licensing. And so Simone is over Kelly. Kelly's over me and Christy. Christy is another program manager. So all of you operate with a license, as well as your certification. So you have a little involvement with Christy and a whole lot of involvement with me, and I'm sorry for that. And then Harry Armstrong has been around for quite some time. He's our training coordinator. And then just another quick introduction of our surveyors. The supervising surveyors, our team leaders, are Heather Flint, Amy Williams, and Marcy Price. And most of you will have had an opportunity to meet them. Heather's been around, I think, 16 years. Amy, I think, came on board in 2011, just as QIS was starting in Utah. And Marcy a couple of years after that. There's their disciplines. And then for surveyors, we have Nicole Cololi, Jamie Such, Tatum Losi, Catherine Verso, Alex Adams, Shalise McKay, Lori Maroney, Dawson Croxel, and new since we met in St. George is Jessica Bolander. She started last month. She has some survey experience, I believe, in California. I believe it was 4 or 5 years ago, but so she joined our team just recently, and we're excited to have her. She's a very, very kind soul. All right, this is where our office is located. I think they're going to just put us in a mobile home so that they, move us around a little easier. But we are now in the multi-agency office building. And this is our website. Go to dlbc.utah.gov and then Office of Licensing. And you scroll down to health facilities. That's where you'll get to us. The different forms, the 358, 359 will reside as you delve into that. Okay, so this is what you and your staff can expect from survey. And if you have different experiences, I kind of want to know about it. Just because I guess my philosophy is we all choose the professions that we choose for a variety of reasons. All of you will have gone into healthcare because you want to help people. Things don't always go perfectly. Sometimes things don't go perfectly and it's in your control. Most of the time it's not in your control. But sometimes things just happen. And regardless of that, people still need to be treated with respect and professionalism. And so I expect that from the staff. So just, prior to a survey occurring, if you have any questions about, hey, I have a question about this regulation, you're always welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email. It changes a little during survey. Survey is a time when the team's there to evaluate your compliance, and if they're starting to look at something, then hey, that's probably not the time to call. Hey, this is what we're doing. Should we be doing it differently? We're probably going to have to let the team do their evaluation and see where things fall. But again, otherwise, feel free to give me a call. Like I said, all interactions with the state survey agency staff should be respectful and professional. And I have a little star by that, and the reason, or asterisk by that, the reason for that is professional and respectful are sometimes just subject to an individual's interpretation and perception. And I'll just say, if you may be an individual that may not be doing things in the most appropriate way, and maybe a surveyor is asking you questions about the way that you're carrying out your duties or the services you're providing. And if it's a fairly significant or serious issue, the countenance of the surveyor may be somewhat serious. It can still be professional and respectful. But if you're on the receiving end of that, the perception can be, man, they were attacking me, they were doing this and that. And so I sometimes get concerns from people that the staff were not professional or they were attacking. And if they truly are, I definitely want to know that. But that's different than they were asking questions of someone about something, and that person just took exception to the line of questioning based on what the circumstances were. So just a little thing there, because not everybody may feel that they were treated professionally, even though I think the intent was. So if you have those concerns, I'd certainly like to hear about it, and we can discuss what the circumstances were. But that's certainly the intent, that the surveyors approach all of your staff in that way. Surveyors will be thorough, so that means that they will be looking at things and asking people some difficult questions. They'll be talking to people about things that may be uncomfortable, which may be perceived as unprofessional, again, depending on if I'm doing everything's right and I know exactly why I'm doing it, that should be no issue. If I don't know why I'm doing it, or if I know I'm doing it wrong, or if I didn't do it, but I said that I did it, that may feel a little bit different from the individual's perspective. Surveyors are not going to be able to communicate with or explain to people, you as administrators or directors of nursing, what they're looking at until they're comfortable in their investigation with the information that they have. You know, it's, you do it, I do it. It's just common that if we know there's an issue or something that's potentially an issue and we become aware of it, we're going to put things in place that correct or make it more favorable. And surveyors just need to know what the circumstances are as they were when we came in the building. And so that means we got to hold our cards a little bit. And that's not trying to be sneaky or anything, that's just investigating. And I know sometimes as the survey progresses and gets closer to the end, well, this is the first I heard about this, or that's the first I didn't know about that. As administrators, you're certainly, you know, as the surveyors have conversations with your staff, they're going to start at the level closest to the resident, speaking with the resident if they can, resident and family. Then they're going to start with or interview CNAs, housekeeping staff, maintenance staff, nurses, rec therapists, social services, then get up to director of nursing, unit managers, administration, dietary managers. So as they're investigating individuals, whatever the issue may be, will have information about what the surveyors are discussing, what they're questioning. So if you don't know, I'll just be kind of blunt here. If you don't know, then that's your problem. I mean, that's not the surveyor's issue that you were not aware of what they're looking at, or that's you not had an opportunity to discuss it with them. That they haven't asked you specifically for your input is a different story. And so at the time they ask you for something, then they'll get your perspective, but to be surprised by something, which I hear periodically, you know, well, I didn't even know they were looking at it. I know. That's kind of on you then, if you don't know what's going on. Because I can guarantee you 99% of the time, everybody knows what surveyors are looking at right away. Not too naive. But they're not just going to come out and say, this is what we're going to look at. But at the point that they do come to you and say, hey, we're looking at this, and there's information that we need or that would help us with making some decisions here. I would ask that you know, and your team look reasonably thoroughly, not to find any little thread of, oh, this kind of sort of looks like maybe that might mitigate, but if there's pretty good indication that there's an issue, you know, don't, I guess, you know, being in the survey world long enough, it doesn't do a lot of good to come back and and talk to surveyors about what you think they might want to hear versus the reality of what has occurred with the resident or whatever the circumstance may be. Those things kind of become fairly transparent. And so if there's not any additional information to be gathered or to provide, it's okay to say that. You know, it is what it is. If there is additional information, that's awesome, and surveyors will look at it. But there's no need to belabor the point. If there's nothing else there, then let's move on and go from there. The other thing is that the surveyors should be, or the survey should be an objective reflection of the facility's compliance. The surveyor, I think it's important to know all of us have bias. We all think things should be certain ways. When I started survey 28 years ago, we had surveyors that went to nursing school, and if certain procedures or certain things were not done the way that they learned, then it was just wrong. And we all know that there are so many different ways to accomplish something and get the same result. And so our surveyor should not be looking at a specific intervention. Generally speaking, there may be circumstances where that may be the case, but those would be rare. It's what was the process? What was there the identification of a problem? How was that assessed? What were the goals? What were the identified interventions? Were those interventions consistently implemented? Was there an evaluation to see how effective they were? Did they need to be new interventions implemented and developed and implemented, and that process going through? And so in that way, whether it's something, yeah, I would have done it this way or not, but that doesn't really matter. They need to recognize their bias. Yeah, it's not the way I'd have done it, but still the process was followed and that occurred. So in that way, the survey should be objective. If we're starting to see situations of, no, you didn't do it the way I'd have done it, or things like that, yeah, then we need to have a little more discussion about that objectivity. Any questions on any of this so far?
I don't see anything in the chat, but feel free, you guys, as we go along, to put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure we get them answered.
All right. Okay, for just suggestions for survey, be prepared. Know the resources that are available to you. It is surprising, and I have surveyors still telling me that it happens, that when they're on survey and administrators, directors of nursing, key people, key department heads haven't seeing the requirements, the regulations, Appendix PP. They don't know what the rules are. They may be told, well, these are the rules, but they've not had a chance to review them and see them and understand them. That's really, I mean, that's kind of a disservice to your staff if they're not familiar with them. And if you're not, I mean, these are the rules. Cool. These are the rules to the game that you're playing here. So make sure that everybody has a copy and that they know them. But this website, and actually, because, and when we're kind of getting close to my time, aren't we? I'm going to click on this. And I'm hoping. All right. Everybody see this website? Allie, can you?
Yes.
Okay. So in this website are these tools right here. See here, Appendix PP. But these are all items, and I'm not going to, because they're in zip files, I'm going to just pull up in my so one of the big things is the investigative pathways. So all of these different investigative pathways that are available, and you may all know them, but these are going to include tools or guidance for how surveyors are going to be investigating your facility's compliance. And it would be good for you to know what the surveyors will be looking at. And so having an awareness of this information, again, if you're probably all very well aware of these items, but if you're not, this website and these tools will be very helpful. And I do recommend going out to it. And when there's updates, because there are updates periodically, you'll want to go up and update the information. It was updated on, I believe, May 16th after the public health emergency ended. Again, understand or have ensuring that all of your staff understand the regulations. There's so many times in surveying, well, the state makes us do this, or the state won't let us do this. If that's the depth of your staff understanding of why they are or are not doing something, they're probably not going to consistently do it because they don't know why they're doing or not doing something. So ensuring that staff are trained, that they know. On the electronic health record, on the entrance form, and that'll be down here next, it says to have that within 24, I mean, within, I think, the first day. But really, the surveyors need that right away. And if you had a process, or could have a process where that switch, or whoever can turn that switch on for surveyors to get access to that electronic health record as soon as they come in, or as quickly as possible, would be very helpful. Now we've lost where I'm at. Okay, yeah. And then I don't know that this has really been much of an issue, other than having space that's available for the team to work, knowing that they're going to all have a bag, they're all going to have laptop, and they'll need to plug in. They'll have their own surge protector, but they will need space that is reasonably accessible to resident care areas. As you're collecting items that the surveyors request, just provide them as you collect them. Save them all up and then just bring them as you can. The entrance conference worksheet provides timeframes of when they need to, and as to the extent that you're able, please try and follow those timeframes. I know that surveyors have many times they have concerns that the things that are to be provided within the first hour, they have a hard time even in the first day getting. And I've heard this on more than one occasion. That they don't provide anything to surveyors until the surveyors ask for it 3 times. So if that's your philosophy, that's not really productive. So if it is, let's kind of avoid that type of philosophy. And don't hesitate to ask the surveyors questions, because they won't. So we talked about that. Then this is if you're going to, in preparation for surveying, I mean, this is the survey folder. These are the things, these next several slides, the entrance worksheet, the things to have in an hour, 4 hours, the first day. These next several slides just talk about that. The beneficiary, and then so I will say, when Simone, Kelly, Criddle, and I were in Baltimore in April meeting with CMS, they were very clear to say on the facility reporting payroll information, that if facilities are not reporting payroll, that their expectation is that that will be an automatic deficiency. And so I just caution you that will be the case. And their guidance is to cite that at a scope and severity level of F. So please make sure that you are submitting your payroll data. The other items that they have high on their list is no RN on duty for 8 consecutive hours for more than four days in the reporting period. And then lack of a licensed nurse for 8 consecutive hours, or no, for 24 hours a day. So those 3 things they were highly concerned about. The automatic deficiency will be, though, for failure to report payroll data. But, oops. Yeah, I think the other thing is, no, rather than trying to get back on that, during the survey, it's going to be stressful. It's your staff are going to be uptight, especially the longer survey goes on. We are as unobtrusive as they try to make survey. It's just a pain in everybody's rear end. Med pass is just going to be slower. Staff are going to be annoyed that they're going to be continually interviewed. Residents will kind of have mixed emotions. They'll be, when are these people going to leave? And others are going to be, I want to talk to them. And just so you know, that when we have resident interviews, we know that when there is nothing but absolutely horrible things to say about a facility, that's taken into perspective. When a resident has only glowing, wonderful things to say about a facility, that's taken into account. When a resident has, they do this really well, they could make some improvements in this area. That tends to be a little bit more credible. So we factor all of those things in. But as team or administrator, directors of nursing, it's to get through survey, they'll need, your staff will need your leadership and for you to remain positive. We certainly don't want it to be a real horrible experience. The other thing that we don't do on survey, we're not looking, as we conduct our observations, we do our survey, we may identify that an individual caregiver performs a task, maybe breached technique or omitted a care or did something in some way improper. We're not there to identify staff issues. We're there to identify facility compliance. The facility's compliance is a composite of all of the staff, and so those individuals do impact the facility's compliance, but we're not there to target individuals. And overwhelmingly, the surveyors and I believe that almost always those issues that we identify are things that with education and mentoring and oversight can be corrected. we're not looking for people to be terminated as a general rule. You know, certainly there are indicator times when this facilities, you know more about what's going on with the individual, and it certainly may be appropriate. But just understand, I think sometimes, and this goes for administrators and directors of nursing too. When we identify problems, and even real serious problems in a facility, we're not looking as a first step that the captain of the ship or whoever heads must roll. We're looking for changes to occur. But in many instances, those changes can occur with existing staff. Again, education, mentoring, oversight, systemic changes. But you know, we've got new people where sometimes we just need to have opportunities to grow. But sometimes I think that there's a mentality that, well, this happened, and so first thing we got to do is fire the administrator, fire the director of nursing, fire this aide because they were here. That's certainly not what we're looking for. Your private companies, you can do what you want, but that's not what we're looking for. So, any questions?
I'm not seeing any. Does anyone have any questions? You can either unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat. All right, well, I am not seeing any. Greg, is there anything else you have for today, or is that the end? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're so glad you could be here and hope that you found this beneficial for your facility as you prepare for survey. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
See ya.